Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Equestrian Tea Time Podcast. I'm your host, Isabeau, along with my co-host, Emma Jenkinson. In this episode of the podcast, we talk about Emma Jenkinson's online clinic program. She explores a variety of topics in her workshops. Her latest topic is how she uses positive reinforcement, R+, clicker training to change the horse's mindset. Then Isabeau talks about her 4-year-old thoroughbred resale project, how prioritizing the horse's sense of being seen has improved the positive reinforcement training. Emma discusses her Mustang named Panic at the Disco. Panic at the Disco has been having some recent struggles with emotional regulation and behavior regression. Emma talks about going back to exercises that had helped him a lot when she first got him, mainly focusing on changing Disco's mindset before working to change behaviors. Then we discuss the challenges of domestic herd management, especially in small groups. And finally, some information gleaned on herd dynamics from the feral horse bands of Alberta, Canada. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy.
So, let me look up our notes from our call. I was very inspired by your plans to do your online clinic stuff. So that got all kinds of ideas in my head. Let's see, your original concept was you were going to talk to people about how to transition R+ under saddle and how to get longevity between clicks. Is that the topics you're still thinking of doing, or have you figured out some other topics?
So I think after discussing it with everybody, like some other professionals and trying to figure this out, just because of the limitations of like meeting with multiple people, I think online clinics are going to be an intensive one-on-one thing, and I really will just cater them to whatever someone is working on or needs to or wants to learn.
Gotcha.
And I think I'm going to do some workshops on those subjects. So we're going to do the ones I'm working on now are plus our foundation, just the basics, the beginning part, the neutral headset, the equipment, the targeting, reverse round pens, just to get started. And then the second one will be about under saddle, lunging, getting longevity between the clicks, and really just the problems that we run into with it, including like how to start and stop sessions, how to transition horses back and forth between the traditional negative reinforcement. Say we don't want to use it at all times, everywhere, all the time. I think that will be a big part of it.
Cool. That's a really excellent outline of topics. I like your framework. That's all awesome.
And then the last one I'm thinking of, but this is the one that excites me the most, but I'm still kind of experimenting with, is how to use plus R clicker training for changing the horse's mindset instead.
Gotcha.
Working on that and patience and this traditional groundwork stuff where we get the horse's mind and body moving. But we focus on the mindset and that change, because that's the piece that we miss with positive or negative reinforcement. If we want a real change in the horse from if they have classical conditioning towards something, is to actually wait and click for the mindset changing and the energy changing instead of just getting the correct mechanics happening, I guess. Yeah.
I feel you a lot on this. I recently shifted gears with my thoroughbred. Well, my 4-year-old resale project thoroughbred guy. I was of the opinion that the positive reinforcement was getting him too excited, but it's closer to the truth to say that I wasn't paying any attention to his mindset. I signed up for some Warwick Schiller, his month-to-month program, to study his connection work. And, I was doing positive reinforcement without what Warwick describes as being seen and getting got. So I wasn't paying enough attention to how he reacted to things. So I'm still using a kind of positive reinforcement. It's on a slightly different schedule. And it takes a lot more into, I had a natural horsemanship trainer tell me about 25 years ago, what horses value most is peace. And I was being way too transactional with the positive reinforcement, just trying to get behaviors out of him and not putting enough weight towards the fact that he was a little frantic and overwhelmed and it was too much. And he felt, as Warwick Schiller say, unseen. So I slowed it down a lot. I changed the timing. I changed some of the reinforcement to me kind of doing massage stuff on him. I cut him loose in the barn aisle, and I let him tell me the places where he likes being rubbed. So now when he comes to, so when I try to get him used to the wash stall and I get him to a place where, he's taken a few steps in, but he's tense, instead of trying to reward him for the behavior at that time, I stop and I go and rub him on that right glute that I know he really likes rubbed. So that, as opposed to just trying to be about get in the wash stall, get in the wash stall, get in the wash stall, get on the trailer, it's more about the wash stall is a place where I might rub your butt. And he's really he's more motivated by that than he is about me trying to give him treats to crawl into the wash stall, which he finds is scary. So yes, I think the mindset is a really, really excellent way of putting it. And it strikes me that that's where some of these relationship trainers are really finding a weakness in the R plus system to get their point in at. Is people not paying enough attention to what you would say the mindset, what Warwick Schiller might say being seen and getting got, but paying attention to how the animal is responding to everything that we're doing.
Yeah, and so I'm having some issues with Panic at the Disco still, but we're building fences out here, and he has been like really stable. We hopped on him a few times, and he was into that, and we locked him, and then after one or two rides, he was not having it anymore. And I think he's still struggling with ulcers, and a few things happened. Like I changed his diet, and I'm going back to his old diet because that he's got some like runny poops, whatever. I think his ulcers are acting up. There's like a meridian point that I can touch for his hind gut, and he'll get very upset. Whereas usually he wants me to like scratch him all over that area with a hammer. And he's just all up in our business, trying to build a fence for him so I could lock him up when I do lessons. But he's very much acting like a stallion. And I had a friend helping me, and she was walking, not looking at him, and he actually started charging at her and like half reared up and like bared his teeth. I don't know if he was going for a bite, but I've seen him also turn on the other horses recently. He will do the same thing with the horses. He lived with my mare for like 3 years, and now all of a sudden he can't. I've had him checked out for everything. We cleaned his sheets. I had some sarcoids checked out, and then he rubbed it off his ear. It fell off. So that's gone. Okay. And I just, I'm kind of at a loss, and I've done all this positive reinforcement training with him. And I've had my assistant instructor, working student person, like working with him pretty extensively. And she's the one who started hopping on him. And he's just made like a regression. He's pinning his ears when we just lead him, trying to bite. Now I can't trust to turn my back to him. He's charged at people now, not just horses. Wow. We've ruled out a ton of things with the vet other than he's got ulcers and his tummy hurts. It's just wild to me, but I was like freaking out about it. I tend to freak out about my own horses,
absolutely.
And be like at a total loss with my own horses and asking all my friends and thinking about getting all these behavior consults because we know so many professionals. And it's like, I was like, Emma, just stop. Go back to what you did to get him here in the first place, right? Like, and that is this work with the positive reinforcement and no positive reinforcement, but it's just working with him within his boundaries that he can handle and working with his nervous system and working on changing his mindset. And like, that means I can't be passive with him. I have to be thoughtful and treat him like a stallion and like keeping him separate when we're doing work. And it's occurred to me too that we're like, some horses do well with the game changing every day and the challenge changing every day and stuff, but he's having his like living situation, construction happening. He's separated from other horses but can see them. And this is all a big change for him. And he doesn't do so well with that. And I was like, okay, Emma, like, you got to go back to your routine. He needs routine, and you need to just confront him every time he has these thoughts and let that thought change. It doesn't matter what reinforcement we're using. He loves scratches too. He'll be there all day, but he doesn't want to work. And now he's thinking about charging and dominating people and other horses. And I have to change that thought for him in both ways. And I can't put him in situations to even do that. Right. And it's just that, like, my friends and other people may not know what to do in that situation. I do. It's like handling a stallion, and it's not very fun. And you do have to use a little bit of pressure, energy to, you have to reprimand that thought sometimes. But it's not as, I can tell someone else to do it, but if they're too harsh, you will meet that with violence. And so basically what I've decided is he's only working with me, and he needs his routine back, and we're going to go back to what was working, and we're going to stop thinking about riding or anything like that. His body's ready, but his mind is so not even in a mindset to be, like, led around by a person. So I don't know why, but we're just going to try to fix it. And so that'll be a great workshop.
Yeah, sure. No, that'll be a fantastic workshop. So this is a horse that he's a Mustang?
He is. He's a Nevada Mustang. I think he's the Saltwells HMA. I'm not too sure. He was wild for a year or less, and then picked up by some people with another yearling, and they lived together. And as far as I can tell, like, in pasture for 5 or 6 years, and they pulled him out occasionally and used him as a pack horse.
Oh, wow.
Very well trained. He was then put on consignment with his friend and sent to Texas to a trainer, and I bought him from that trainer. Or actually, I didn't buy him from a trainer. A client of mine with children bought him for her kids, and I was supposed to use him for lessons, and then she took off and left him here. So
Oh boy.
I was not planning on him. He's been a really great project and a lesson for me. And, to progress and learn these things, I wouldn't have the opportunity without him. So I think it's kind of cool, but it's been a lot. And I just didn't intend on having 3 horses.
Yes, no, having more horses than you really want to have is no fun. And it's really hard when you want you want them to be different. So I call some horses adventure models. Like my Dutch harness horse is an adventure model. He wants to go do stuff. He wants to trail ride. He wants to go to horse shows. He wants activity. He gets bored sitting around. I only have 6 horses here total. He is not amused by the 6 horses thing. He would like at least 50. He finds the 6 horses thing dumb. But then there's horses who are the opposite. They want to do the same thing every day with the same person. All they want to do is go. They're perfectly fine as, like, dressage horses or reining or Western pleasure horses even. Take me to the arena, ride 10 circles to the right, 10 circles to the left, look for 2 minutes. Like, they don't want anything to change. They've got their expectation of what they can handle. And if you try to change it, they're just like, no. That's no, it's tough when you come to the point of realizing this animal is really tending to be this way or that way. And it's hard for me to make this animal happy because I'm not set up, like, I don't have 50 horses here to keep my Dutch harness horse happy. And in the past, I don't have 2,000 acres and 100 horses that this horse needs to keep him happy.
Yeah.
And that's
also
really
very
tough.
bored. Yes. And I took his friends away, but he was not playing nice with them. Like, he doesn't know how to interact appropriately anymore. And I don't know if that he was getting bullied or what, but I do know, like, I've tried to move him in with other colts and geldings and move him, and every time I move him, it stresses him out. And that's safe to assume with his ulcer problem that, like, we need to keep his environment as stress-free as possible. But the goal for me was, like, he wants to do something, and he let somebody on him. So my goal was riding, but that we're just so far from that. Now my goal is, like, what can we do together that you like to do and that we can be together doing? Because, you know, like if he never gets to riding, fine, but he can't just stay like this. It's not good for him or me or anybody.
No, it's tough with the horses not getting along. I mean, myself and the other lady here who take care of the horses, we had wanted to do a track system. And over the course of the past year, all 6 horses are turned out separately. My horse just got a huge hole in his leg. We have it on video because we have cameras everywhere. He harassed that other horse for 10 minutes, and the other horse kept kicking a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bit bigger, until he finally gave my horse a nice hole, which my horse deserves because he was being a complete jerk. So we got 2 horses with a high play drive who, if we put them together, will just run around like complete lunatics and blow up the fields, just like absolutely. Or we had them go through the fence once. We got 2 other horses who will go lame if we put them out with the high play drive horses because they're not robust enough to be running around with that much. We got a mare, and then we got one guy who's really sweet, but he's on lease. And he's borrowed, and we really don't want to have to call up his owner and tell him that we broke him. So after like a year and a half of me and this lady trying really hard to get them in a group and trying to set up the tracking stuff, they are all in separate paddocks because we couldn't make it work. We couldn't.
Same.
Yeah. And it's like, damn, this sucks. But they're way happier. My thoroughbred is so submissive. He's scared of the other horse he's out with, and that'll trigger stack him. Even though he looks quiet, if anything else happens, he'll freak out and start running just because he's already nervous because of the horse he's out with. He's quieter. We put him out by himself now. He's way quieter by himself. He's scared of the other horses. He's very submissive, and we don't have all total added together. I added it up last year. We've only got 1.4 acres of fence turnout in total, which for 6 horses is not a lot of room.
No, I've got maybe an acre that I haven't taken the trees down and fenced off yet, but the plan has changed a lot because I thought they would all be together. And it's like, at first, all 3 were together. And then I had my mare and gelding together. And now nobody can be together because of meds and diets. And Disco's now attacking everybody, including...
Now he's attacking everybody. Yeah. No, well, I can see. Yeah. I mean, you wonder how well he got along with that other weanling in the field, and whether they were really
annoyed each other, it sounds like, until one or the other was chasing the other around, even though they had like enough resources.
Yeah.
It just happens, or it can even happen just because they get irritated. Like, or who knows? One of my clients had 2 horses colic a week after the other, and she realized they were keeping each other away from the water tanks, even though she's got 1 million out, and like she only gets pink ones because one of them only drinks out of the pink one, and now
Yeah. Well, this happens even in feral. I mean, I follow HAWS, which is the Help Alberta Wildie Society. They've been going for several years now. They monitor the wild horses in Alberta. They're in a bit of a wrestling match with the government and the cattle ranchers, but they have a lot of cameras up. And just this past week, they got some really interesting video. This mare who's apparently at the bottom of the pecking order, she had a foal. Within 4 hours of it being born, the other mares were treating that foal pretty badly, kicking it and really being aggressive towards it. It got injured. It had a non-weight-bearing leg, and it was dead within a week. It happened really fast. And those horses aren't under pressure because they're fenced together. These are wild horses, and they know that they see that there are certain mares who lose their foals every year. Like, their foals never survive. They get picked off by the bears within a week of getting born. It could be because bottom of the pecking order, but it is very interesting to watch the HAWS footage to see, a lot of this stuff that we blame on domestication, we see the same stuff out there. They fight like crazy. They hurt each other. It's really eye-opening to see the video footage that they get and to see how the animals behave. in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
it's pretty similar to domestic. Like they fight. They're really mean to each other. It's not Disney. All that video footage that was shot in the 80s by National Geographic and PBS, very misleading. Very misleading. These animals they have a hierarchy. They will be bad to each other. They will hurt each other. It is not Disney's Bambi by a long shot. So yeah, it's been very interesting to see that footage of the feral horses and what happens.
I've never seen that. I mean,
there.
I've seen some stallions and things
Yes.
take out foals, but I didn't know that there was a pattern there. That's really
well. It's hard to get on their Facebook page because they're still holding strong, but obviously they get a lot of people arguing with them about stuff. They will occasionally, they have permission from the Canadian government. They have a permit. They will pull foals off the range occasionally. If somebody finds one that's been injured, they will occasionally pull foal. They'll usually rescue a few foals every year, and they will go out and put horses down that have been injured enough if they find them. If somebody sees a horse and if they can go back out and find it again. But when they do that, they learn a lot. Some very interesting. I mean, sometimes horses survive with tremendously bad injuries. Stallions will try to breed a mare even if she's been attacked by a lion. They had one incident where this mare looked like she'd been attacked by something, and she happened to be in heat, and these stallions were trying to breed her despite the fact that she was missing a lot of anatomy on her. They're pretty tight about who they let watch. They had to shut their YouTube channel down because somebody stole all of their content, replicated it, and they were fundraising, like they were trying to get money off of it.
There's so many things. It must be so hard to try to help horses in this day and age.
It's so hard. They have
from the scams to the everything else. And
yes,
man, I think we should just tell people, like, it's normal if your horses don't get along and you can separate them. And like, I have a client right now who's just struggling with the idea that she may have to separate them, especially because they're maybe mustangs. It's just like they want to be together, they should be in a herd and all this, but it's like, we need to manage horses. We manage horses in the wild and they need that. And if you don't believe me, I will give you a book that people could read about one of the first wild horse roundups, but it's just like, these animals will die if they're starving or thirsty. And that's like the reason for any of the roundups I've looked into for the horses that we're working with have been these like emergency situations. We're saving the horses, and we give these organizations a hard time, but we all have the horse's best interest in mind, and sometimes it's in their best interest to live alone. It doesn't mean, as long as they can see other horses and stuff, they can sleep and feel safe and everything like that, and you can still like separate them, and you can also separate them some of the time and turn them out a little bit. That is what most boarding stables do, and it's in your horse's best interest to make sure that they're not, like, Disco's behavior, if it was just towards horses, that wouldn't be great. He still couldn't say, I passed away and he ended up with someone else and they need to board him at a stable even. That's not going to work out so well if he can't be turned out with other horses. He's going to be stuck in a stall and go crazy, or he'd have to be turned out alone. It's going to cost a lot of money. And a horse that shows aggression towards people, most of the time they're destroyed because it's not fair to pass them around. Like a horse like Disco, he's got ulcers, and like being passed around and taking long trail rides and all this would just deteriorate his health and make him more violent until somebody had to destroy him, like that horse that Buck Brandeman tried to work with that tried to kill some people. Like, these things escalate, and it can be a combination of vet issues and this or that, but like, first things first, just separate horses, keep yourself safe, keep them alive, and then like, it's my responsibility to make sure that he's not like that anymore. Or, worst comes to worst, I hate to say it, but like, I'm not going to pass a weapon of a horse onto somebody. He's like 1,200 pounds. Yeah. His feet are the size of dinner plates. Yeah. Even if they don't mean it, they can really hurt you. And that's why we don't wait until, like with dogs, we'll wait until they start biting people. And then that's absolutely unacceptable. But with horses, it's for people that don't no horses, they're so big that they can hurt you like a zoo animal could. And if you intend on handling them in a domestic environment, then you have to make sure that they are not doing these things. They have to be handleable by humans. Or most people don't wait, they're not going to wait till you get bit or something.
Yeah, for sure.
They see a dangerous horse and they've seen other people and other farriers taken out in a second from just one kick and stuff. And like, it's serious to us, and that behavior is serious, and we have to figure out how to fix it. We can't just let that slide.
Yeah, no, that was one of the first things that I had seen on the Haws when I started following their video that was interesting to me, is that there are horses out there by themselves, especially older stallions who are past the age where they can fight for mares anymore. They absolutely, and they may occasionally buddy up with another stallion or a young stallion, but they see them on the trail cameras by themselves a lot. They know there's horses around. They see the manure piles. They can see the horses a mile away. But, and I doubt any mares are ever by themselves, but the stallions absolutely wind up living on and off alone because they can't fight for mares in anymore, or they've been chased out. But that was news to me. I thought that horses would always be in a group, and it turns out that's not true. All right. I don't want to keep you here too long. I think we've got a half an hour of really good content here. Congratulations to us. We're doing good. Is there anything else
about clinics, in case people want to know how that works, because I'm definitely available for that, or going to roll it out soon. But if you schedule a clinic, it's a month-long thing. We're going to get it done within 4 weeks. And what you'll do is you can send in video up to 2 to 5 minutes, and I'll send you instructions for all that. And then we will do a phone call and go over that video and get you started on a plan. And then we're going to meet 4 times for 30 minutes. So once a week, on whatever you want to work on. We can meet live with your horse if you want, or you can be getting video and sending it in. It's just whatever works for you. But, that is what a clinic would entail.
Gotcha. Now, do you want to folk target this in anybody? Are you looking to, are we aiming for mainly Mustang people, or do you think you have a particular target we should be for here?
Well, I mean, I guess what I specialize in or can help people with would just be basic ground manners and issues like you trying to get into the wash stall or trailering, things like that. But I've helped people start colts and start young horses. I work with people gentling Mustangs, if that's something that you're doing, or issues with that. And then I definitely have in-depth knowledge on negative reinforcement training. So if you want to start using the negative reinforcement training or the clicker training, or you want to know how to switch back and forth and use that throughout your training, I can help you with all of that. I also do instruction in dressage and the riding biomechanics. I focused on balanced riding, and I am a former vaulting coach. So just exercises for your seat and your balance and loosening up, and then learning the aids correctly. And if you want to get your horse lighter on aids or things like that, as well as the horse's fitness and how to go about dressage training, which you can use in any discipline. It's just more about having a fitness routine for them and understanding the horse's biomechanics and starting to encourage them to stretch and then also come under themselves and use the correct muscles. That's mostly what we're doing with my dressage program.
All right, lady. All I did here. Take care. Have a good day.
We'll talk later. Bye.
Bye.